I come to show you sports! Hello everybody and welcome into the pre-Halloween edition of UMass Sports Weekly, your number one source for all things UMass sports. I'm your host, Count Tommy Calautti, get it? And let's get this done before the full moon strikes. It's a werewolf joke. Gillette Stadium was a house of horrors after another tough loss for the Minutemen. We have two analysts here ready to break down the tough day. The Mullen Center was haunted with ghosts of comebacks past as the Minutemen tied UNH 6-6. The men's soccer team is still scaring the heck out of me with another good game in their A10 schedule. LaSalle's worst nightmares came true as the field hockey Minutewomen put a 5 spot on them. And we'll check in with the soccer team as they claw their way to the postseason. Halloween is in the air and decorations around the studio were much too expensive. So I'll just let you know right now, this is UMass Sports Weekly.
This is UMass Sports Weekly.
Welcome back. The Minutemen took on number 19 Toledo in a MAC-10 matchup at Gillette Stadium. Minutemen were up 28-10 going into halftime, but like we've seen throughout the entire season, that lead vanished. Toledo put up a 60 spot and, things just did not go well. I'm here with Alex Francisco. Alex, we talk about deja vu. I mean, this team always seems to go up big in the first half and then just blow leads. What is the meaning of this?
You're right, Tommy. This has become all too common for this football team. Actually, it's really funny. I don't know if anyone saw the Sports Center tweet on Saturday over this weekend. I'd like to bring it up right now. So funny. They tweet, upset alert, 1 in 5 UMass leads number 19 Toledo at half, 28-10. Apparently, ESPN does not know this team like we do. We saw this against Temple, Notre Dame, and Kent State. They play well enough to have a lead at the half or even be neck and neck at least. And at halftime, all their momentum and any points they put up just completely vanishes and they lose the game.
I mean, we see with this team, make another Halloween reference, it's Jekyll and Hyde. You have Blake Fronapple, who is one of the best first half quarterbacks in the country. And it comes to second half, he disappears. So, Alex, we talk about Xander's big point, the offensive line. With the offensive and defensive line, they trade off. Usually one's good and one's bad, and then one half, the next will be good and the next will be bad. What is the issue with that?
This game, actually, both teams had a pretty decent showing in the first half, that is. I'd actually like to bring up the drive charts from the first half. So, as you can see, Toledo won the coin toss, and they scored a field goal on their first drive. On UMass's first possession, they get the ball back. They punt, but then get the ball back after Joey Colton intercepts Toledo quarterback Eli Phillip. UMass scores on this drive. Rodney Mills catches a 10-yard touchdown pass from Blake Fronapple, and a few drives later, the same thing happens. Interception by Randall Jett, then Fronapple hits Shakur Naismith with a 14-yard touchdown pass. Tajay Sharp also scored after bringing down a 30-yard pass, as did Marquise Young on a 50-yard rush after a fumble was recovered by Joe Colton. Now let's look at the drive chart from the second half. UMass punts 5 consecutive possessions and only scores once when Blake connects with Tajay for a 3-yard touchdown pass. Toledo would go on to score on every single possession with touchdowns on the first 5 drives of the half. Now, like I said, both lines had a decent showing in the first half, and we do need to keep in mind that Toledo is ranked number 19 going into this game. It's not an excuse, but it's certainly a heavily weighing factor. Tajay Sharp had 159 receiving yards on 12 catches. Some might consider it a bad week for him, though. He didn't break any records.
That's true.
I'm not sure if there are any more records left for him to break at the wide receiver position. But also another great performance from Jovan Santos-Knox. He had 20 tackles this week. 5 solo, 15 assisted, but it's still an incredible number.
He had a lot of tackling to do. Alex, I want to talk about, you saw the first half. I think it was 3 picks, a couple punts, forcing Toledo off the field, and then you just see that secondary go to nothing in the second half. What happened? Was Toledo just able to get things going, or was it just UMass disappearing as they usually do?
You know, the thing we see time and time again with them, I believe, is just their inability to play effectively in the second half. Here, part of it could be just they're out-talented against this Toledo team. I think it could be from being physically drained, not making the proper halftime adjustments they need to make. But that's what this team really needs to work on moving on with the season.
So, I mean, Alex, talking about the rest of the season, it's a scary thing to think about, again, going with the Halloween theme. But is there any solace we can take in this season? I mean, what do we expect going forward?
I mean, I think a bowl game is really not in our foreseeable future this year, at least.
What?
You know, at this point, I think the goal is to finish 6-6. It's not impossible. It's improbable, but not impossible, since they've really already faced their hardest teams that they're going to play. We have no more Notre Dames in the future. Next week, they see Ball State, followed by Akron, Eastern Michigan, Miami, Ohio, and finally Buffalo. These are all much better matchups for the Minutemen. Then again, that's what we said about Kent State. The keys for the rest of the season, Blake Phoneapple, which he has been doing a decent job of, needs to continue to connect with receivers and targets that are not Tajay Sharp, spread the ball around the field. As well, the offense and defense need to play complementary football. They did a much better job of that this week until both lines really died in the second half, which brings me to the third last and certainly the opposite of least factor that they need to work on is maintaining momentum till the end of the game.
I mean, it's definitely seemed to be a problem with this team, but they have senior week coming up, another couple games at McGurk. Hopefully fans can get things going, but you're right, it is a bleak outlook for the Minutemen. Thanks a lot, Alex. We'll be right back, and Dr. Dennehy will be stopping by for some men's soccer. Stay tuned.
Hey UMass fans, this is Brittany Collins, and it's that time of night. Tonight's question for trivia time is about the football team. The Minutemen led by how many points at halftime versus Toledo? Your options are A, 18, B, 21, C, 6, and D, 10. Tweet your answers to @UM Sports Weekly for a special shout out on next week's show. Go UMass!
Welcome back. Halloween. So the men's soccer team has actually been doing pretty well for Massachusetts standards, at least. They've won a couple of games in the A10 and have seated themselves nicely in third place. I'm here with Tim Dennehy. Now, Tim, we talked last week. George Bacara now in net. Minutemen have been winning games, been playing well. I mean, give us a recap of this week. Has the momentum kept going, or should we be scared of something?
A little bit of a backing here. I mean, we went 1-1. We beat LaSalle 2-1. UMass beat LaSalle 2-1 on the back of Kevin Buono. Now, Buono, he won the A10 Rookie of the Year. Rookie of the Week. Rookie of the Year. That'll be a little more.
The year's not over yet.
The year's not over yet. No, but Rookie of the Week. He won the Rookie of the Week award off those two PKs, and it was really strong for the Minutemen. I mean, it was a very, very physical game. 18 fouls apiece between these two teams. 5 yellow cards distributed between the two of them, and it was just another rough, gritty game that the Minutemen they came up on top on. I really think that that's something that this Minutemen team has really excelled on. When they do get in these scrappy games, they seem to pull out the W. However, against Dayton, they could not get it to be that scrappy. They lost 4-1.
I would say Dayton is the Frankenstein of the A10.
Absolutely. I mean, they're scary, they're big, and they win. They absolutely, I mean, I completely agree. Frankenstein.
They also must be afraid of fire, then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, just to clarify.
They're outshot 2012, the Minutemen. Yeah, and, that was supposed to be the world ended, and thank God it didn't, but, Frankenstein. So the first...
It was a really bad movie.
It was, wasn't it?
John,
it really was.
Come on, John Cusack.
So they went down 3-0 in the first half, and they just, after going down 3-0 in the first half, you really can't come back from that. I mean, no matter how hard you try, they scored 1 goal in the 66th minute, and then Dayton matched that, so they lost the final score 4-1. So Saturday was not great for the Minutemen with Dayton. However, they beat LaSalle.
They did beat LaSalle. Now, Tim, Minutemen have a tough rest of the way to go. They got George Washington and Fordham.
Yeah.
Now, if my math is correct, which it usually isn't, they should still be seated somewhere in the A10 tournament.
Yes, sort of.
What do they have to do this weekend to make sure that they get that berth?
Well, they need, it's simple, but it's easier said than done. Win, and they're in. And they have 2 games to do it. However, they're playing, like I said, they're playing GW and Fordham, the number 2 and number 3 team in the A10. So
Ghost Wizard and Fordham.
absolutely, Ghost Wizard. So it's not impossible. I wouldn't even say it's improbable, but it's not going to be easy. It is not going to be easy for this Minutemen team, especially how how they have not really been consistent this entire season. So we'll see how they do this week. But against GW, I mean, they came off a very tough loss. So hopefully we can take advantage of that. And then Fordham, they actually came off an even worse loss. They lost 5-1 to St. Bonaventure, which is the worst team in the A10 right now. So I think that the Minutemen can take advantage of this struggling team. However, we'll see, because they're not really doing too great themselves after 3-1 loss to Dayton.
Now, Tim, like the NBA, NHL, 8 teams in the A10.
Yes.
UMass right now is in 7th, that
Yes.
precarious position. You talked about you winning, you're in. I mean, they got 2 tough games. What do they need to do in these games? What are the keys to help them win?
Well, against GW, they really need to bring an offensive presence. GW has a phenomenal defense. The majority of the games they've won, they've only won by 1 goal, 2-1, 1-0, and they keep very
Real
low
barn
scoring
burners.
games. Absolutely real barn burners. The barn is no longer. Woo! So the Minutemen really have to bring the fire. Hashtag Frankenstein. They really have to bring the fire if they want to bring this game. They want to have to bring it down to their level, maybe get a little scrappy. They, like I said, they seem to be doing fantastic when they're scrappy games. I mean, they've won both games with 5 yellow cards have been distributed between the 2 teams. So, play dirty, maybe get caught. Who knows?
And then we got Fordham.
Yes.
I mean, good school,
Yes.
good soccer program. That game could be a make or break, especially being, I believe, last game of the season. So
Yes.
what is going to be the key in that Fordham game?
Well, Fordham is playing Dayton this weekend, so hopefully, yeah, I mean,
Sending them into the Wolves.
absolutely.
Close the
Hopefully
gate.
they come out. Now, if they come out and they win that, it's not looking good for the Minutemen. If they beat the Wolves there, then, well, I don't know. I guess I'm on Team Werewolf, because
It's another terrible movie,
it's
too.
another terrible movie. I actually, to be honest, I never seen it, but I
didn't see it either.
It's bad.
wanted to save money.
No, it's bad. Yeah. So if they can beat that team, then, well, they're in. But like I said, they're not like I said. They're what they have to worry about is Davidson and George Mason. Now, Davidson, they're playing each other this week, and the winner of that, if one of those teams goes 2-0, they finish season 2-0, and the Minutemen do not win a game, then they disappointed us again. However, if they win one, they control their own fate. That's the best part about this Minutemen team right now, is they are in a good position. They control their own fate. So we'll see what happens.
Keys in their hands. Thank you very much,
Absolutely.
Tim. Hopefully these Minutemen can pull it off and make a berth in the A10 tournament. Don't touch that dial, because we'll be right back with the best team on campus right now, the UMass hockey team. Stay tuned.
Hey UMass fans, I'm Brittany Collins here to give you your favorite part of the show. That's right, it's trivia time. Tonight's question is on women's rowing. At the head of the Charles this weekend, what pair of medals did the team bring in? Was it A, gold, B, silver, or C, bronze? Tweet your answers to @UM Sports Weekly for a shout out on next week's show.
Halloween. So, men's hockey team is now 3-0-1 after their first game in Hockey East play. They took on UNH in what ended up being a 6-6 tie. I'm here with Alana Alondri, who was at the game. Alana, Minutemen went down 6-1 early in this game. I mean, it looked bleak. You even told me a lot of people were leaving. So,
Yeah.
what went wrong through this first period?
Well, Tommy, I mean, this was their league opener, and I think a lot of people were really hopeful for this game. And them going down 6-1 was a bit of a disappointer. But what went wrong was UNH was able to score a lot of quick goals. They scored an on-man rush, and they scored 2 goals in 17 seconds. I think the biggest thing in this game was goaltending. Henry Dill was not good to start this game.
Now, I want you to put in perspective. How bad was Henry Dill in this game?
Okay, so to put into perspective for you guys, he allowed 3 goals on 6 shots in the first period and 2 goals on 5 shots in the second. So pretty bad, if you ask me. So I think Henry needs to be way more consistent going forward. And they also made a few defensive mistakes. A couple rookies made some bad, had some bad giveaways in their own zone, which led to those 2 quick goals. So they have a lot of work to do this week preparing for the Capital City tournament. But, you know, it was a good comeback in the end. So.
Yeah, like we said, I mean, the game ended up 6-6. The Minutemen again with another third period comeback. Now, Alana, we've seen a lot of great individual efforts. I mean, Austin Plevy has looked great. Dennis Kravchenko picked up right where he left off. So, I mean, how did the game from UNH differ, the tie against UNH differ from the first 3 wins?
Well, this game, I think, was a complete team effort after they went down 6-1, of course. All 6 goals were scored by different players. So 6 different guys had a goal on the night, and 16 different players had a point on the night. So that's pretty impressive. I think they can build a lot of confidence off of that, a lot of momentum, and any team should be proud of that. Another thing is they're able to score. They had 5 goals on 15 shots. So we know this team can score. We know they're capable. They had a lot of great puck possession throughout the game. They just weren't able to capitalize on some of those, opportunities. But this team can score, and I think going forward, they just need to, get the puck in the back of the net.
Makes you really think what the Minutemen could do potentially if Henry Doak cleans up his act.
Right.
So, Alana, you mentioned Capital City tournament. What can the Minutemen do to grab a couple of wins?
Well, I mean, despite this game, I think it was coming back from a 6-1 deficit is, you got to be proud of that, okay? I think this team has a lot of, I think they have a great mentality at the moment, in comparison to last year, of course. I think this upcoming weekend, they have a game versus Maine. It's non-conference, but I think it'll be a good test for them, for the season ahead. Yeah. They got to just stay positive. Henry's got to be better in net. Dill has to be better in net. That's just the bottom line. They can't give up those kind of goals that quickly, especially. And I think they just need to work on their defensive coverage, going forward. So there's a few things they need to tweak, but I think this team looks really hopeful for this season and for this weekend, of course.
I mean, like you heard, 16 points from 16 different guys. This team can score, and they're fun to watch. So, I mean, best team on campus right now, and hopefully they keep it going. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Alana. When we come back, we'll be talking about some women's field hockey. Don't touch that dial.
Hey UMass fans, this is Brittany Collins at UM Sports Weekly, and we're very excited to introduce a new monthly segment to our show. For our first UMass Athlete of the Month, we have hands down chosen Mark Morris, who scored a hat trick against Rhode Island.
Later in the second half, Goncalves would hook up with Morris again as he blasts this cross, somehow finds Morris's head, who puts it in the back of the net for his 2nd goal of the game. Things were looking good for the Minutemen as they would go up 2-1.
The senior forward from Arizona led UMass to victory after scoring the game-winning goal at 2-2 with 30 seconds left in regulation. Of course, this was his 3rd goal and the first hat trick at UMass in many years. Congratulations to Morris, and good luck to men's soccer for the remainder of their season.
Welcome back. The Minutewomen field hockey team ended their home finale in a great way with a huge win, giving them some big momentum going into the A10 tournament. I'm here with Matt Lieberman. Matt, how's it going?
How are you?
I'm pretty good. I mean, another win. I want you to, though, do me a real favor. Give us a breakdown of that game. Who did they beat? What was it like? What happened?
Well, the final score was 5-0 Minutewomen against LaSalle. In the first half, it only took the Minutewomen three minutes to score their first goal by Clea Donna-Laughlin. From then on, it was just all Minutemen. I mean, they ended up scoring 4 more goals after that game, and didn't score any in the second half. But it was a good defensive effort by the Minutewomen all game, and a great showing, honestly.
I mean, putting up a 5 spot in an A10 opponent, it is always good. But I mean, like we said, last home game of the season. I mean, it must have been important. It must have been an important game to win. What was the atmosphere like?
Well, the atmosphere, it was cold and windy, but that didn't stop any of the fans from showing up. I mean, the crowd was electric. Both stands were completely packed. In fact, you had to stand up in some parts of the game just to see the field. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better showing by our fans.
So we talk about this all the time. Allie Furlow usually does it. She's out sick. Hope she gets better. I mean, MVPs of the game. who was your player to watch in that game?
I mean, the MVP had to have gone to Izzy Delario. She had 2 goals, 1 assist, and was really the anchor for that offense. She leads the team in scoring, and we're real lucky to have her for another year after this year.
I mean, definitely, Matt. So Minutewomen have 2 games left. Making that push towards the A10 tournament. Give us your predictions. What do they got to do to win?
Well, they have to play like they played this week. I mean,
5 goals is good.
5 goals is really good. Their defense looked even better. They're going against UConn, who is 17-0. They're one of the best teams in the country. It's gonna be tough to pull off a win there, but they play the way they did today with the same this week with the same intensity. I think they have a shot. As for Davidson, they have a 500 record, kind of the same team as UMass, but yeah, if you're playing the way that UMass played this week, I mean, I can't see them losing.
Hopefully they can put a silver bullet in that husky before it becomes a werewolf. Another Halloween reference. Thank you very much, Matt. One of my favorite teams on campus, the field hockey team, hopefully they can make it to the A10 tournament. Don't move. Really, don't. Because right after this, Phil Sanzo joins us to talk some women's soccer. And you've returned. The Minutewomen soccer team has a big push to make before they can get to the A10 tournament, and Phil Sanzo has been all over them this year. Phil, hello. How's it going, mate?
Good, how you doing?
English.
I don't speak that way.
Halloween joke, because I disguised my voice. It's a costume holiday. You probably don't get it.
Keep trying.
So, Phil, Minutemen, you told us, had road games the rest of the way.
Yes,
They've
sir.
struggled on the road this year. Did they find success this weekend?
No, they did not. Well, they found it's not all bad. They went 0-1-1.
Phil,
I mean by that,
no, Phil. When you say that sounds bad, that O in the win column sounds bad.
It is. There was worse though, and I'm gonna start with the good.
Okay.
They lost to Duquesne 1-0. A game they needed to win. I'll get to that later. But they tied VCU. Tying VCU is very important. That VCU is a very difficult game, very difficult team, and it's a conference match. And the Minutewomen need to win as many conference games as they can. They came back against the Commonwealth. They were down 2-0 heading to the second half, and they were able to come back. Talking about resiliency, I talked about that last show. I've talked about that in shows prior. This team is very resilient. They were
I feel
not
like it's
through
one of the
injuries.
only words you know that's like more than 5 letters.
That's not true. I want to do my segment. No, they were resilient. Cassie Babin had 9 total saves in the 2 games. So yeah, she continues to get going, but they couldn't find the win on the road like they should have.
See, I feel like you've said before, you got to win these conference games.
Yes.
You got to take care of business. I mean, you highlighted Cassie Babin. You said she put up a good showing, but that loss to Duquesne hurts.
Oh, yeah.
How does that loss to
100%.
Duquesne hurt them?
If you guys see on the standings, the loss to Duquesne, if you see which they're grouped up with the Minutewomen, Duquesne is right 2 levels above Massachusetts. Them and George Mason sit at 4-4 right now on the season. Minutewomen at 3-2. If the Massachusetts Minutewomen would have beaten Duquesne, that would have pushed them to 4-2-2, and would have pushed Duquesne to 3-5. Now, all of a sudden, that puts the Minutewomen in that spot where they can get to the A10 tournament. Top 8 teams need to be in this. Not top 8 teams make it to the A10. Right now, Minutewomen sit at 9. George Mason and Duquesne are that 7 and 8, and they're both at 4-4. If they would have beaten Duquesne, they would have been in that top 8 and had a little bit of a cushion before coming to these last 2 games of the season. Had a little bit of a cushion heading in. So definitely the loss to Duquesne, a team they definitely could have beaten, a team that's at the same level as them in the standings. Beating them would have helped a tremendous amount, but unfortunately they couldn't get it done, and the coming up schedule is just that much more important now for the Minutewomen.
I think it just shows you how cruel conference play is. I mean, this team has been better than the men's soccer team, and yet they're both in similar positions.
Absolutely.
So, Phil, 2 games left. They're in right now. They got to win out. What challenges do they face in these final 2 games?
Right now, the Minutewomen are facing an uphill battle because they got Dayton and St. Joseph's coming up. Dayton and St. Joseph, Dayton especially, a top-tier team that has been playing good all season. They're 6-2. St. Joseph's 5-3, not as high as Dayton, and it's very easy for the Minutewomen to catch up to that spot. But what the Minutewomen need to do is they need to win. They need to continue to win games now, and they really can't afford to lose any games because you got George Mason and Duquesne. They're both sitting in that spot. George Mason plays LaSalle and Fordham, while Duquesne plays Dayton and LaSalle. So these are all teams, especially LaSalle. LaSalle's in that pact right now with George Mason, UMass, and Duquesne right now. They're all in that middle section. So UMass needs to continue to win games, and LaSalle, they got to hope that George Mason and Duquesne lose these games. So unfortunately, the men and women are in the position now where they have to win and hope other teams lose. If they would have beaten Duquesne, they could have just relied on the wins and just kept on winning and not worry about other teams. You never want to have to worry about other teams, but unfortunately the men and women are in that position right now. So they're going to have to keep winning games, do the best they can in those games to score points, just to beat Dayton like they attack Dayton like they attacked VCU, with just really tough playing at the net, especially in net for Cassie Babin. She needs to stay strong against a Dayton team. If they can play against them like they did against VCU, they could beat them. But really, Minutemen face an uphill challenge, and we'll have to see how it plays out.
I mean, Phil, it's never a good scenario when you're chasing other teams. I mean, you know, as a Jets fan firsthand what it's like. I'm a Giants fan. Even better, you know what it's like firsthand to be chasing better teams. So, thank you very much, Phil. Unfortunately, that'll do it for us here at UMass Sports Weekly. Have a safe Halloween, everybody. Remember to follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, like our page on Facebook. Utilize the Snapchat. There's always Periscope and any social media site you can find us. Help us out, come on. Throw follow our way. We'll be right back here next week, 7 p.m. on Tuesday. I'm Tommy Calautti. Have a good week, UMass.